Every business has a logo, and when it's yours, it matters. GPS is a 30-year local Las Vegas company that produces custom merch, like hats and apparel, drinkware and totes, blankets and bandanas, really any kind of swag you can imagine that features your logo or message. They're experts at finding or creating the right products for the season and the reason that fit your budget and timeline. Check out the GPS website at gpslasvegas.com, where there's a world of products to promote your brand.
October is not taking its foot off the gas when it comes to news, and with the biggest story, perhaps of our lifetime, as the pundits say, right around the corner, we want to make sure we're keeping you up to date on the here and now. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm joined by Interim executive producer Layla Muhammad and Nevada Current reporter Michael MJ Lyle, and we're talking about the Oakland A's, still high on bluster, low on details when it comes to their Vegas journey, the trends of early voting and which races we're keeping our eyes on, and how tourist numbers are finally inching back towards pre-COVID normalcy. It's Friday, October 25th. I'm Dayvid Figler, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Hey there, happy Friday. I am here with producer Layla Muhammad, and if you've been listening to our show this week, I heard a thing or two about our membership program. So today, it's the last day of our fall campaign, and we have been so heartened by the show's support from so many of you.
Yeah, wow, it really gives us a boost to see that our hard work producing this daily show actually matters to so many of you. One of my favorite parts of this whole campaign is seeing notes come in from our new members.
Yeah, me too. We, actually get these real-time notifications on our team's Slack channel. And while I despise Slack, I'm going to be honest here, I do get excited when I see a new member has joined. I get a little ding. And then the messages that come with that have been so kind. So I thought that today, instead of just listing all the reasons we think you should become a member like we have been all week, I'd let the listeners tell you in their own words.
Ooh, I love that idea. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I picked three. There were a lot of choices. This one comes from Nancy. She wrote, I read the email daily and appreciate the information you provide. I want to recognize your hard work by becoming a member, which is just awesome. Robert wrote us, I think you just have a lot to offer. You keep me up on all current events in the Vegas area. And that is what we're doing here. We are celebrating our community, especially the parts that you may not know so much about. Last one, Chris, who wrote, love the Vegas stories, love our diversity and character.
Gosh, thank you so much to our new members for sending in those notes. It's so amazing to hear that our hard work is really landing with our listeners and that you guys are actually benefiting from our show.
Absolutely. We love our members. And if any of those notes resonated with you, today is the perfect day to join. It is the final day of our fall campaign. We will not be extending it, which means it's your last chance to become a member and also get that exclusive CityCast Las Vegas tote bag you don't want to miss out. So just head on over to membership.citycast.fm and sign up before the day ends. That's membership.citycast.fm. We'd love to have 15 new members. That's all. And you could be one of them. So help us close out the week strong. Layla and MJ, welcome to the Friday News Roundup.
Good morning.
Good morning, David. Good morning, MJ.
And welcome to all our new listeners, especially during this membership campaign. Great to see you all here. Let's get into our first news story. The Oakland A's, that story just keeps getting, to me, weirder. I don't know. Is the A Stadium really happening? There's a lot of proclamations. What's being reported, Layla?
Yeah, so in the past month, a lot of movement has been happening for the A's and owner John Fisher. All started late last month when they played their last game at the Oakland Coliseum. That was kind of a bitter farewell. And then this month when the Trop implosion happened, that was partially a show of their commitment to Vegas and movement towards the stadium. And then now we come to last week where there was a lot of movement, new renderings and details were filed to Clark County for the proposed stadium and potential casino resort on the Las Vegas Strip at that 35-acre property where the Tropicana sat. that was kind of just a proof of concept, according to Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board Chair Steve Hill, just to make sure that everything could fit on that 35-acre site. Obviously, the stadium, which will cover 9 acres of that, was in the center of that with 3 hotel towers by Bally's, who ran Tropicana, all culminating into a meeting where the chair, Steve Hill, also president and CEO of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority.
And also a person who presented the A's case for public funding at the legislature, just FYI. He has a lot of hats, that guy. He's got a lot of hats.
So at a meeting last week, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority Board was reviewing some contractual details from the A's and their stadium, their proposed stadium on that lot. And it was announced that Fisher will not be showing financial plans yet in that meeting, and then that's going to wait until December. Hill said that the public does not need to see Fisher's financial plans yet, and that he has all the faith that the Fisher family, who owns Gap, can pay for the stadium. And this is the $1.5 billion stadium that is proposed on the lot. And $380 million of public financing is going to go to that. But the A's said that they only need $350 million of that. So that's kind of the rundown. Long story short is that we're not seeing John Fisher's finances yet, and that's being kind of covered behind closed doors, even though Hill and one of the board members of the Stadium Authority Board has seen it and put all their confidence in Fisher.
I feel like we know more about Vegas residents and their set lists before they take the stage in the Las Vegas Strip, before we know anything else about the financing of the stadium. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it does seem like the media, specifically the RJ and the Nevada Independent, who are doing most of the reporting about this, are pretty trusting with what they're being told. I mean, they're saying movement, and we do see new renderings, new things. But I'm kind of with you, MJ. I'm still a little skeptical. I mean, there are a lot of questions about a lot of things still remaining before we go all in that it's actually happening.
Yeah, I think part of that skepticism is from John Fisher and his reputation. Like, this isn't the first time he has moved towards getting a stadium and got renderings, and that has kind of failed. John Fisher is the owner of the A's, if I haven't said that yet. But Steve Hill actually addressed that head on. And he said, I've seen this before. People like the skepticism, but 4 years from now, that skepticism is going to be wrong. The Fishers are looking at alternatives for funding the stadium, including the potential for having local investors.
I hate that argument. It's like, we put a man on the moon, and people said you never put a man on the moon. So obviously we could put a man on Neptune. It's like, it's not the same. Every project is individual. And I think that the big issue here is we've been told for a long time that the A's clearly have all their financing in place, and yet the deadline, the goalpost keeps getting pushed forward and forward and forward. And now a statement comes out from what's essentially one person who we're supposed to trust, who says, I looked at their financials of this family. They got plenty of money. Don't you all worry about none of that. And having the money and the accessibility of that money, in other words, liquidity, or also like the willingness to spend all that money or pull all that money up, those are very different questions. And then we hear that this late in the process, after all the deals are supposedly done and everything is moving forward, and we got yet another beautiful rendering, which may or may not violate FAA airspace, we see in the New York Post that Fisher is still trying to shop around at what may or may not be an overvalued assessment of the worth of the A's for stakeholders. He's literally still soliciting money. So if it's a done deal, why is he still trying to sell shares in this project that I don't know? I think if it was so appetizing, he would have had investors lined up. It looks like he's out there with hat in hand.
Well, according to Hill, Fisher doesn't need the outside investors, and his family, Hill is very adamant that his family does have the equity for the stadium to finance it. And
no one's doubted that.
Then why did he need public funding for it?
Well, that too, right, MJ?
Why do taxpayers need to foot the bill if he is so well off, like so stacked with the cash? Then why are we funding this publicly?
And if there are public funds coming in, why wouldn't the public have a right to see what up? Like, why do we have to just trust the one person with all the hats? Like, distribute the hats, my friend. My man, delegate. It's pretty good. And also transparency.
And not even an elected official at that.
Yeah, I mean, not an elected official, but certainly serving in the capacity of a mostly quasi-public figure. I mean, he's our marketing chief. He's selling our city.
Yeah, but I also wanted to throw in that it wasn't just Steve Hill who saw the finances of the Fisher family. Ed Finger, who's the LVCVA's chief financial officer, also saw these balance sheets from the Fisher family.
But did he? And if two people are seeing it, again, why isn't everyone just showing it? Like, look, he's got the wealth, he's got the liquidity, but also, hey, y'all, here's a piece of paper that he signed that binds his family to paying the bill if they can't find investors. That would give people, I think, a little more confidence, no?
Yeah, I agree. I think hopefully in December we see these numbers and we get to see some financial plan from Fisher. There was actually some reporting on lvsportsbiz.com by Alan Snell, who said that he was at the meeting talking to Steve Hill, and he said that the Fisher documents weren't going to be public because they're private.
They're private. Everything's private unless it's not private. Look, I have no doubt that the heir to the Great Gap fortune is filled with, cheery numbers and an overstock of puffy vests or whatever it is that the Gap sells these days. But beyond the fact that he is wealthy, what do you think it'll take for us to be sure that it's coming, MJ? Because I think that this limbo land is not good for anyone.
Yeah, where are our lawmakers in all of this? Like, what is kind of the answer to your question, like, of what it will take? Like, you don't give carte blanche in a almost essentially a blank check. It wasn't a blank check, it was signed, but you don't approve this deal without having some type of transparency. So the question is, where are our lawmakers in this? Because that's how, in theory, we should be able to get a little bit more insight to what the money looks like.
Well, an elected official in the mix of all this did reach out to me, and I'm not going to out them. Notice I'm not gendering. And so this person said to me, look, I get all the hand wringing, but until everything is locked in with the private financing, it doesn't even trigger the public funding stuff. So don't you worry your pretty little head. This person thought I had a pretty little head. So that was actually my takeaway from it.
Your head is very pretty, and it should be worried.
Thank you.
Hi, David Plotz here. I'm the CEO of CityCast, and I want to talk to you about becoming a member of your local CityCast. By now, you've probably heard the team behind your local podcast talk about why you should become a member. But I want to tell you why I hope you'll consider becoming a member. We started CityCast because we believe cities are amazing and that they're at their best when they're full of passionate people who know what's going on and are actually engaged in them. But it's pretty hard to know what's going on in your city and how to be part of it and how to change it. That's why we bring you daily local podcasts and newsletters made by locals for locals that are informative and joyful and funny and completely unique to your city. But it takes a ton of effort and your support to keep us going. If this show has helped make you a better resident of your city, first of all, that is great. And second of all, please help make sure we can keep on making it. Become a member of your local CityCast at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm. And thank you. Everyone on our team will see and appreciate your support.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Let's move on to topic 2. Early voting is underway. A lot of hubbub about what is and what isn't happening and what it might mean. MJ, what are the takeaways so far?
Can I start this by saying, everyone take a deep breath? Breathe in.
Let's actually do that together because I think I need it. Oh, that felt good, MJ. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. I needed that.
My biggest takeaway is we still don't know a lot. This is what we do know. As of Thursday, 409,000 people have cast their votes statewide. A significant number of nonpartisans are included in that. I think there's been a lot of worry because typically in this time of early voting season, we see what's known as the Clark County firewall, where Dems amount a certain amount of votes to kind of offset this dump of rurals and Republican votes. And that's not just coming in this year. Statewide, Republicans have about 17,000 voter lead. They're voting earlier this year, earlier, and I think that's starting to freak people out. But there's still so much that we do not know.
Well, it's probably not freaking out Republicans.
Probably not freaking out Republicans. It's freaking out Democrats, who we've seen that the polls have shown or indicated that Harris and Trump are neck and neck in the state. We know that things like supermajority in the state legislature is at stake. So Democrats might be freaking out depending on how they're reading or going into blogs that are assessing these polls. But there's still another full week of early voting and election day, and we do not know how the significant amount of nonpartisan voters are going to be leaning.
Well, as you mentioned, MJ, this get out the vote for Republicans early is fairly unprecedented from the last few cycles. Layla, why do you think that this Republican surge is happening, and do you think it could last?
Well, isn't there a precedent for this? MJ, is it the other way around, or do Republicans usually come out for early voting and then Democrats show up on election day? Is that wrong or right?
Democrats do typically vote late. I will say, kind of backing up a little bit, it's kind of two answers to this. One, there's been in the last few election cycles a lot of misinformation about voting, and particularly mail voting and early voting, and a lot of Republicans, including former President Donald Trump, have disparaged early voting and mail-in voting. They are not doing that this time around. I was listening to J.D. Vance, who was in town in Las Vegas earlier this week, and he was saying, look, the Democrats are using these tools. We need to use these tools too. And so there is a push for Republicans to get out by any means necessary and vote early. And they are doing that. They have a statewide lead. But yes, Democrats typically do vote a little bit later.
Interesting. I'm all for getting out the vote, whatever. Republican, Democrat, nonpartisan, as long as people are voting, I believe that the system works. But I don't like what I'm seeing in a lot of the Republican framing of all this, that, we need to get out and vote as much as we can because we need to make our vote too big to rig, suggesting that there is a viable possibility of election fraud, which is completely wrong. That is debunked. Yes. That is not a partisan position, nor should it be. We've had Cisco Aguilar on here. He's explained it pretty well. And all those thousands of court challenges that were all turned away, not because of standing, but because there are no facts showing that our election system is not currently safe, though it's being attacked.
And then after the 2020 election, I will note that Republican Secretary of State Barbara Sagaski did an audit and found nothing to point to a mass voter fraud like people were.
Or even a minor voter fraud or anything coordinated or anything that would in any way impugn the integrity of the results.
But you're absolutely right. The whole stack the votes early so they can discredit whatever comes in late, especially in a mail-in state. We can receive mail, I believe, a day or two after, as long as it's postmarked by election day, we can still receive mail for a certain amount of time. And so I think it's that's what a lot of these allegations are. It just to instill a lot of distrust in the system that is perfectly safe and working the way it is intended to design and is secure and free and fair. But a lot of this is just to instill distrust in the system.
Yeah. So the new twist this year, besides what MJ just talked about, is the huge number of nonpartisans, people also identifying as independents, not the major two parties, coming out in huge numbers. How has this changed the dynamic of the whole election cycle?
I mean, we don't know how they are voting. Yes, we've kind of been seeing this with voter updates from the Secretary of State's office over the last year. We're seeing more people register as nonpartisan. Part of that is from automatic voter registration that we have in the state. But because of that, we don't know the leaning, although there's some speculation that they are younger and so will lean more Democratic, but we don't know that for sure. And so we don't have a good baseline for what is going to be happening in this election. So I think it leads to the opportunity of a lot of hand-wringing and uncertainty. That is making people feel great because there has been like a tried and true method of how we've seen votes tally in, and the large amount of nonpartisans with this big question mark above their head is bringing a lot of uncertainty in this. But yes, a good chunk of the voters that have already voted right now are nonpartisan, and we will never know until after election day, after the polls close, what that vote meant.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think it was important to point out to something that I saw in the Hey Las Vegas newsletter is that these numbers are voter registration and not how people are voting. So even though there's a high Republican turnout, it doesn't necessarily mean that these people are voting Republican.
Absolutely.
There is the one race that a lot of people are like scratching their heads about as far as polling goes, and that is that in the U.S. Senate spot, Jackie Rosen seems to continually outpace Sam Brown, the Republican, by much larger numbers than the very tight race between Trump and Harris, suggesting that there are Trump/Rosen voters out there, which just, I think, blows a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, they are there. I have met and talked to some of them.
Really? You found the mythical unicorn, I'm a Trumper, but I'm voting for Democrat Jackie Rosen. Tell me about that, MJ. What do they tell me their characteristics? How did they come to that?
They just really like Jackie Rosen. Like, Jackie Rosen just appeals to them because, you know, Jackie Rosen's all bipartisan. That's the thing that comes out of her mouth, like, think every other sentence. But yeah, they just really vibe with Jackie Rosen. Yeah, they didn't really have any concrete of why, but like they just liked her, and then they don't trust Harris. But I will note that we did see a split. It's very different, but we did see a split in the 2022 midterm where we did have Lombardo, Cortez Masto voters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
well, there was a lot of Sisolak hate out there.
Yeah, there was a lot of Sisolak hate. So,
and I wonder if there's just some mistrust in Sam Brown because he is relatively new to the state.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Sam Brown hate this election season in political ads.
Yeah. So what local races are we all keeping our eyes on that maybe aren't getting the big coverage like the U.S. Senate race?
Well, I'm looking at my neck of the woods in Henderson, and this is from I'm speaking off of a Nevada Current article by Dana Gentry, and it is the city council person for Ward 2 in Henderson that covers Anthem and Sparata in the Seven Hills area. The candidates are Henderson newcomer, Monica Doc Larson, and incumbent Dan Shaw. And I was reading about this one and thought it was interesting because the incumbent Dan Shaw has a lot of controversy attached to him. So former Clark County Commissioner Chris Giunciliani filed a complaint, which led to an investigation by Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, saying that Shaw doesn't live in Henderson and that he actually lives in Utah. Also, Shaw has been sued multiple times over alleged illegal loans and giving out alleged illegal loans to low-income neighbors. So that kind of sparked my ears for this race against Monica Doc Larson, who is running under safety. There's also controversy with her. They're saying that she has a federal tax lien and bankruptcies, which, I mean, you as voters can decide what you care about more. But Shaw is also backed by Henderson Mayor Michelle Romero. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that race turns out.
What underreported or off the radar-ish races are you looking at, MJ?
So we have been covering since the league kind of the race for the legislator. Right now, there is a supermajority in the Assembly. Democrats have a chance to do it in the Senate. So one of the races in the Senate that actually is an incumbent, I'm really interested by. It's incumbent Senator Dallas Harris, who is running against Lori Rogage. The reason why I'm most curious about that is the amount of money that not only Rogage is getting, but the fact that she was endorsed by the Culinary Union, which typically endorses Democratic candidates. The Culinary Union has had issues with the Democrats in the legislature after they decided to vote to repeal a health code that mandates daily room cleaning. It was a huge issue, and they didn't endorse any Democrat this cycle that actually voted in favor for that. But surprisingly enough, in this one race, they not only decided not to endorse Senator Harris, they endorsed her Republican opponent. And I just find that really interesting. And so I'm kind of keeping an eye on that because if...
Hell hath no fury, like a union slightly injured by a vote that was kind of non-consequential. I just quickly think that some of the down ballot races are just not being paid attention to because of the bigger races. Even in the city of Las Vegas, the mayor race is getting all the attention, but there's a really contentious battle for city council between two former assembly people. You got Chandra Summers Armstrong and you got C.H. Miller. I don't know where that is with polling or, who's ahead on that. Summers Armstrong came out ahead in the primary, but woof. That could be a real game changer, especially for that Ward 5. I'm also curious why we're not really talking about that county commission race between Bilbray Axelrod and April Becker, because that very well could change the complete dynamic of the county commission with the first Republican potentially being elected there in years.
Yeah, there's a lot to follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lot to follow. And, of course, all the judges' races, too.
Yes.
Well, I am confident that short of shenanigans that have no bearing in reality, that we will know all the answers in the next couple weeks.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. With Cybersecurity Awareness Month winding down, LifeLock wants to remind you to update your software. These updates will patch up security issues that identity thieves can exploit to gain access to your personal info. For comprehensive identity theft protection, there's LifeLock. LifeLock alerts you to more uses of your personal info and fixes issues that arise. Protect your identity today with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast.
Oh, it's such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Shop Blinds.com right now and get up to 45% off select styles. Rules and restrictions may apply.
All right, last topic. Tourism numbers are almost back up to pre-COVID levels. This is coming from a story out of the Nevada Current by our friend and contributor April Corbin-Gurnis. She eavesdropped into the State Economic Forum meeting where LVCVA CEO Steve Hill, who we just don't talk enough about, made a presentation about how visitor volume is going, giving statistics that I assume are correct. I don't know where they come from, but, LVCVA has all its magic numbers, and I have no reason to doubt them. And here broke down, how many people are coming, especially international visitors. Convention business is still a little bit down. It's about 10% lower than it needed to be to come back up to the pre-COVID levels. But we are seeing that the international visitors are coming back, specifically Canada and Mexico. Shout out North America. They are back in force, recovered 96, 97% respectively. I will tell you this, that every time I see somebody down at my coffee shop in for a concert or whatever, I ask them where they're from, and I would say most of the time it's Canada. They are obsessed with us, those Canadians. Sadly, lagging way, way behind China and Japan. They're only about 35% and 44% of their levels from before. So, it was a pretty sunny outlook that we're getting back to business, that all the stuff that was keeping people away has basically been fixed. But there was a suggestion in that meeting that, we could still do better and we need to be focusing more on marketing,
One of the things I found very interesting about that story was, we're not back up by completely where we're at to as far as tourism levels from 2019, but our spending is way up. They reported $37 billion in spending in 2019, but it was 51.5 last year. And so we might not be up in tourist levels, but we're up in the spending.
Well, I think prices are going up too, but yeah, that was a really kind of good economic indicator there. Also, gambling wins are way up, record highs. So I think Las Vegas is going to be okay as long as, idiots like Dayvid Figler stop trying to kill the golden goose with all his questions and cynicism. But we're still just a little short. What do you think is keeping us from completely rebounding?
I think one of the factors has to be travel. And I think it is so much harder now to travel than it was in maybe 2019. And the prices are just ridiculous. I feel like even besides the price of a ticket, I'm walking into the airport and I lose $50 somehow. I wonder if we're seeing levels from Canada and Mexico kind of creeping back up to where they were because they're closer and it's easier to get here than Japan and China. But I know from my personal experience, travel is definitely not the same.
Well, we have been hearing a lot about the economic downturn in China. And also a lot of expansion of gaming in Asia in general. And so maybe they're like, well, we've got all the Vegas that we need nearby. We could go to Macau if we have to go fancy, and other markets. So maybe that Asian market really is saturated to the point where Las Vegas doesn't have the allure that it used to for that market. I don't know. Interesting. All right, y'all. We always like to have fun with the last topic. So let's swing for the fences here. Money being no object. What big thing can Las Vegas do that will draw the tourists back to the levels that we need? What should the powers that be putting all the money behind to get those people coming?
I think something like this is already in the works, but we can go bigger. I think we need some type of horror movie theme park attraction. I go to horror movies all the time, and they're always packed. The Beverly is packed for horror movies. Like, people love horror movies. Like, you see, like, highest grossing movies, and some of them are horror movies, like things like Longlegs and A Quiet Place Day One did stellar at the box office, so did Alien Romulus. We want to get tourists here. Bring a mega horror movie attraction, or maybe it's just for me.
A Saw Casino where where you are at the blackjack table and they ask you a series of questions in addition to whether you want to hit or stay.
Universal is talking about opening a horror theme park here, right? Talking about projects that we might never see happen. But I think that is hopefully in the works. I would love to see a year-round horror theme park in Las Vegas.
I think
the haunted hotels of Vegas. Nightmare on Vegas Boulevard. Oh, boy. How about you, Layla? What do you think would be a fun way to get those tourists coming back?
So I think we need like a big one-time event that's going to draw just a ridiculous amount of people to Las Vegas so they can see how great we still are.
A Super Bowl of sorts.
A Super Bowl of sorts, exactly. So this could be the Super Bowl, but Las Vegas casinos are going against each other and they have their fighter. And it's kind of like a WWE showdown against Las Vegas casinos. And whichever casino's fighter comes out on top is the best casino in Las Vegas.
So we're turning the Sphere into a Thunderdome.
Exactly. Yep. The venue would be the Sphere.
2 casinos go in. Only one comes out.
Exactly. And so I think that would draw a lot of people because every casino would pick, a top fighter probably from MMA, UFC, WWE. I'm not a fighting sports fan, so I don't know if all of these people fight against each other, but I can see an event where all the casinos pick a fighter as a representative and it's just this big all out. It could probably last a week with all of the casinos that we have and everyone's just coming in to see which casino comes out on top.
Wow.
I love that idea.
All right, I'm going to play off the Sphere, too, because the Sphere seems so instantly popular. What was the biggest toy, especially in Asia, since the late 90s?
Furby?
Nope.
Tamagotchi?
Tamagotchi. That is correct. So every tourist who comes to Las Vegas gets a Sphere Tamagotchi. And the Tamagotchi Sphere plays whoever's headlining there. So it could be U2 or the Eagles, or they would probably want like more K-pop, I would imagine. That said, you get this really cool toy when you come to Las Vegas for free, but you have to be a visitor coming in, and you get to have fun with it and play with it, but you also have to keep it alive. You have to deal with all the lawsuits. And then you could also stop people from coming in who criticize your Tamagotchi. It would just be a real live experience, and you'd have this keepsake forever to take back. And then when you go back to your home country, you try to keep that Vegas alive. And then when you come back again, it gets re-energized or whatever. So I think that we should definitely tap into the Asian toy market to get that Asian visitor level back up again. But I think everyone can have fun with the Tamagotchi sphere. That was my ad.
That gives them a reason to return.
Yeah.
I also wanted to shout out a suggestion from our producer, Myron Kaplan, who suggested a bake sale for tourists at the Allegiant Stadium, and locals have to submit their top recipes, and only tourists can participate in this bake sale, but locals are the ones selling it. So, I mean, it brings money into the local community too. So I think that was actually a really smart idea.
Vegas Bake Off. I love it.
Yes.
And we could invite in Paul Hollywood.
Yeah, up the stakes. I want a Hollywood handshake.
Well, MJ, Layla, another great Friday News Roundup. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, you guys.
And that's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. While executive producer Sonia Cho Swanson is out on leave, our interim executive producer is Layla Muhammad. Our producers this week were Myron Kaplan and Francisco Kilgore. Our newsletter editor is Rob Couchel-Reese. And our hosts are Sarah Lohman and me, Dayvid Figler. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and All the Kimonos. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nuuvi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed the show, go tell a friend. You can also rate our show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Till then, stay lucky.